doubting themselves and whether they can get or not. And the highest level athletes can feel it. They're gonna stop loving the sport. I've seen it happen where some kids just get beat up.
Would you say it's more that those blocks are more created because of a coach, a parent, or just a fear of the unknown? What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Cheer Up. Today, I have a really special guest on the pod, man. I really want to introduce you to this guy. His name is Devron, also known as the Tumble Freak. I usually do my research on people that I have on the podcast, but I did a very, very little. And we're just going to shoot the shot here and just, we're going to wing it. And like I always do, have a conversation with my guest. And I want him to introduce himself, and I want him to tell you a little bit about himself. So today, welcome Devron, the Tumble Freak, to the podcast. What's up, Devron?
Hey, what's up, Renatto? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm getting over a little, I don't know if I could say it was a cold or sinuses, but I'm getting over it. It's been like 2 weeks that I haven't shot a podcast at all because of it. I've been like coughing. I don't know. It's going around. So I don't know if you had that.
No, I feel like I'm always battling something. My son just started kindergarten, so
man.
I'm trying to keep healthy. I'm around a lot of kids all day, every day. So it's a challenge, but just get sleep. Sleep and
that's it. I think that's what I need is sleep. But yeah, it's true, especially you that you're around a lot of kids. And I have 3 girls. They're in school with a bunch of kids. And it's just, they're just bringing stuff home. And I'm like, I felt like I was getting better. And then all of a sudden, just this Monday, I was like, man, what the heck? It's not going away. So I had to say, you know what? Let's just do this. I wasn't going to postpone. Let's just do this. And, because I felt like crap not having a podcast for like a week and a half. I was like, dang. But yeah, man, I'm glad you came on too, though. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. I'm very excited.
All right. So let's get started, man. Let the people know, let the audience know what you're all about, how you started, tumbling. And because right now, correct me if I'm wrong, and as far as what I know, is that you're a tumbling coach.
Yes. Tumbling and cheer too, because I do stunting with athletes, but mainly tumbling. Just work with kids from 0 to the most advanced levels, to get them trained up mentally, physically, and right here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the most important part. So tell me where you started. Like, how do you were you a cheerleader back in the day? Take me through your journey, man.
I started cheerleading back in high school. I played football. I ran track, and got cut every year from basketball. So it's crazy. So I was hanging out with some girls after school, some cheerleaders, and they asked me to throw a toe touch and just some jumps, and I did, and it was pretty decent, just being athletic. I was able to get up in the air, and they invited me to join the cheer team there in my high school back in Ohio. And I just never stopped, man. I learned to tumble from the cheer advisor there, and did that for 2 years. Then when I went to college at University of Cincinnati, and I cheered on varsity there for about 3 or 4 years. It's pretty amazing. Learned to stunt more. And during that time, I began teaching, and it's became my profession. It's never stopped. And this was, I graduated high school in 95. So my junior year, I started cheering. Started coaching around 97.
Oh, dang. Okay, cool.
Florida doing the same thing.
So
goes back.
Yeah. Okay, so when you said you graduated in 95, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I graduated in 1998. So we're around that age. You're a little older than me, but for those that don't know math, keep it that way. So yeah, so 1997, you started coaching, right? Is that correct? You started coaching? in Cincinnati. Oh, so you've been coaching. You have a good record of coaching athletes.
Yeah, I started with this guy, Don Perry, and this acro chair. Um, and he was like a former strength coach for some NFL teams, but he did gymnastics coming up, and I worked for him, and he taught me a lot of good stuff about fundamentals and technique, and um, and it helped me carry me to where I am today. And that's how I got started there in Cincinnati. I went back to Lima, Ohio, and I coached there at an all-star facility, which was my first time dealing with all-stars. I had just done high school cheer.
Right.
Got into that world, saw routines coming together and training different athletes and the stunting coming along. And then I moved down here, on a whim, just to go to culinary school.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. So back then, high school cheer was just, you're talking about you graduated in 1987, so 1995, right? I mean, you got in 1995. So let's say 1994, it was pretty much pom-poms and no stuntings. Or was there any stunting back then, like in tumbling?
High school, there was no stunting. We
in
were
high school, right?
Tumbling and cheers, basic cheer. So
what was the tumbling like? Was it like pretty basic tumbling, or was it crazy like now?
No, like I just did round off back tucks and standing back tucks, layouts, and that was enough to entertain the crowd.
Right.
I went to school with, he would do round off back handsprings, switching hands, to tucks and a full. And that was the highest thing you would see. No doubles, no whips.
Right.
Basic.
Did you ever think back then you were going to be where you are right now?
No, I still to this day can't believe that this is my profession and what I do for a living. Work with kids. I feel it's a blessing to help kids out, teach them some things, build their confidence, and also keep myself in shape. It's not even like a job. I just go to work and
it's I feel you. I hear you for sure. When I was back in 2007, from 2007 to 2010, I was a fireman, and it didn't feel like a job. I was like, I love going there, and it didn't feel like work. I was like, I'm going to the firehouse. I was like, it didn't feel like work. So I know what you're saying. Like when you love something so much that it doesn't even feel like work.
It's not. No.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. In 2005, I started Tumble Freak and branched off on my own. And it's just been building ever since then. I got the brand.
So you have a good background doing that. And then the support of other gyms too, I'm sure helped you.
Yeah, I built up quite a rapport with everybody and a level of respect. I respect their gyms and their athletes, and they respect me. They know I'm not coming in trying to take their kids. I'm not recruiting. I'm not sending anybody anywhere. My main goal is I'm going to build up this kid so that they can go back to their home gym and contribute the best they can.
So, you said your boy is just turned 1, or he's 1, right? Yeah. 5. Oh, is he starting to do a little cartwheel, stuff like that? You're trying to teach him to?
Cartwheels, stands. When he was little, before he could walk, I would stunt him, put him in the air all high. I'd say, Elliot, let's do tall as a tree. And he'd come run over. I'd put him up in the air. But as he got a little older, like 3.5, 4 years old, he was like, this is a little high. And he didn't like do as much anymore. Even though he climbed the highest tree and he's adventurous, but that freaks him out a little bit now. But yeah, he tumbles. Everybody asks me to bring him to my gym.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Boys are always needed at all-star cheers.
Yeah, that's how it was with me in college. I was playing basketball with my buddies, and I looked over and I saw the cheerleaders. And I'm like, well, I got to go talk to these guys. I did this in high school, so Went over, started chatting, told them what I did, and threw a couple girls in the air because I had a little bit of experience doing that. And showed them my tumbling because I already had that, and they pulled me right on varsity cheer at the University of Cincinnati. Um, the basketball team was number one every year coming out the gate. So we traveled everywhere with them, competed at nationals here in Florida, UCA Nationals. Just some great experiences coming up in cheer.
Dang.
Yeah, I built up a little more tumbling as we did that. But even then, when I was cheering, tumbling wasn't like it is today. You know, I mean,
Right.
you had a team with run off handfuls. You had like maybe a couple people with some fools on the team, at least
Oh,
at Cincinnati. You go to like Kentucky and Moorhead University, you know, those guys had like squad full, squad doubles, but that was it. It wasn't they weren't whipping, punch throughs,
they
anything
weren't
like
doing that.
that. I mean, stunts were basic, man. You get them up, you hit, and you pop down, and you move on.
That's it.
So
Huh.
watching it change over the years has been
Yeah.
incredible.
How did you adjust as far as the change coming from, you know, something that you weren't taught? Did you have to like self teach yourself all this stuff? And like how did you transition to teaching that to these kids nowadays that are you know,
I think learning was thank goodness it was easy for me. I was athletic. I had a passion for wanting to and a desire to tumble. When I was little, I like 5 years old. I had the phone book out, showing my mom and dad, put me in this gymnastics academy. You know, I wanted to do gymnastics, but I never did until I started cheering in high school. And the cheer advisor helped me learn how to do a back tuck. You know, I tried to learn a back handspring. It was hard. I was horrible. I would just jump back and hit my head every time. I mean, and this was hard not because we're in the wrestling room at school on just wrestling mats. There's no spring floor. Um,
right.
so she's like, let's just try it back tuck. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. You know, and then she's 5 foot maybe. So if I bailed or did anything wrong, I don't know how she's going to save me, but she helped me get over on the back tuck. And then like within an hour, I was throwing it. And just, I think wanting to tumble and really like letting that override my fear and doubts helped me get into it. And then just being blessed with the ability to convey um, the information to my students now, how to do this, you know, using my experience. What did I have to learn from my coaches and Don at Acro Cheer?
They're learning from your failures, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
tell them, I'm like, I'm giving you all the information that I didn't have, you know, so that you can hopefully go through less, you know, failures, you know, on your way to what you want. You know?
Right.
And we're gonna mess up. Everybody's gonna mess up, you know. But I tell my students, I don't care if you mess up, make the mistake. Just I do care if you keep doing the same mistake. So just learn quick from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And telling them that kind of takes some pressure off because a lot of people don't want to mess up. They don't want to disappoint the coach, whoever's watching themselves, um,
The parents.
their parents. Yeah, exactly, man. So I try to take a lot of pressure mentally off of a kid or any athlete so that they can get back to focus and thinking about what to do and believing they can do it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So I know you work with many, many athletes right now, right? Every day. So when you start working with an athlete, how do you assess an athlete? I mean, I know you can assess an athlete physically and they can show you what they know, right? That's a way to assess them. But how do you assess an athlete mentally? Is there such a thing? Do you do that?
Yeah. I tell them at the very beginning, um, uh, no matter how advanced or how basic you are, I'm gonna start you from the basics. My first time meeting the kid, You know, they could be a level 5 athlete from Top Gun. Show me your handstand. You know, and how much attention to detail they put to that, and how clean they control it. And I move on cartwheel, round off, back walkover, front walkover, and all the while I'm looking at their control, and especially like if it's just a basic skill and they have a lot of skills, do they give it the attention? You know, and then I just once we get to the harder skills, I just watch for physical cues. You know, how do they hesitate to do things and stuff? Are they watching me and worry about what I'm doing, or are they just going for it and being brave, thinking about what they're doing? And I kind of get a little picture of what that kid can do. I can see their strength from that. That's about it, you know. And just talk to them. I talk a lot, and my students will tell me, "You talk too much." I'm like, "Good. Listen to what I'm telling you. Say, please." And I ask them for feedback. You know, talk back to me. Tell me what you're feeling, like emotionally, and I have them tell me what they're doing. You know, and just get answers.
The reason why I ask you about how do you assess an athlete mentally, is because there could be a really good athlete, one that I know, throwing fulls, right, or throwing even back tucks, and but they can even get stuck and like get this mental block. She has this mental block, and so when you look at an athlete that's a level 5 tumbler, you know, how do you assess them mentally when they can do it, but
Mm-hmm.
they have this mental block at certain points, and it's like, how do you even work with that? How do you fix that?
My definition of a mental block is not controlling your thoughts when you have to do whatever it is you have to do. You know, because what you think controls what you do, what you say. So, an athlete that's just starting to tumble and scared to go backwards in a back walkover, or an athlete in the case of the young lady you know that's may get stuck on a full, they're thinking about what may or may not happen, you know, instead of, all right, what do I have to do? The basic ingredients for that skill. And then other than that, it's doubt. So besides the fear of not being able to do something or what may or may not happen, doubting themselves and whether they can get it or not. And the highest level athletes can feel it. You know, it's not just, you know, someone doing just starting, you know, and it can be, there's so many reasons, you know, that can cause a mental block.
I personally think like sometimes parents have a lot to do with that mental block. Um, when a parent is, how do I say it? When a parent is tough on you because you're not getting something, I think that in that kid in their mind is like, oh crap, if I don't do this, my mom, my dad's gonna be like this. If I don't do this, you know, I think that has a lot to do with it. Would you agree? Like sometimes would they tell you, oh, my dad's gonna, or majority of our moms that are in the gym, but or do they tell you, oh, my mom's gonna be mad, don't show this because she's gonna be mad if I don't get it? Do you get athletes like that?
I ask them, what's blocking you? Is it your mom? Is it your parent out there watching you? Are you worried about that? Are you worried about your coach? Because coaches
Yeah.
too, because we have influence, you know, over these kids. You know, we're the one right there in their face, you know, training them. So it could be what they think about us, their parents, um, other athletes. You know, and I've had kids, you know, tell me, my mom, you know, she just, if I don't do it, she's not going to be mad at me. And I've had private lessons where I've literally sat and just talked, you know, to get into here and here where the root of the problem is. Because the kid that I was working with at that time, she could do the most perfect back handspring ever. I mean, it was flawless.
Wow.
But um, she didn't. I mean, besides just going backwards, she had that pressure of her mom on her stuff, and I tell them like, don't do it for your mom. They put you in here and bring you, they're supporting you and paying for your private lessons and your training. But you're the one out here doing it. So don't think about them, because if you're thinking about them, you're not thinking about yourself. And I tell them same about their coach. Don't do it for your coach. Don't do it for your parents. Do it for yourself if you want to do it. And I ask them, do you want to do this? And if their response is yes, which it usually is, kids want to tumble. They want to participate in something that they love to do, whether it's cheer or not. I'm like, then your desire has to be greater than your fear of failure, of the scary stuff that going upside down is not natural and flipping backwards is not natural. So just understand that's part of, where you want to go. So just accept that. Don't worry about your coaches and your parents. Just hear what they tell you. Take the information that's relevant to what you have to do, and focus on that.
So I have a daughter that tumbles, and she's a level 2 tumbler, and she does back handsprings, right? And she was afraid of her coach. So that in itself gave her the biggest mental block. Like, I can't do it. And come to find out, it was her coach that she was afraid of her, that she was going to not do it, and that the coach was going to yell at her. Or, sometimes coaches say, I'm going to put you in a prep team if you don't throw your back, your skill. So that like put this big mental block on her, and she was like, I can't tumble. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I feel you when you say coaches be a big influence on kids when they coach. And because it was like she couldn't do it. And then when she did it, it was the weirdest thing, because she was like the happiest, and then her coach gave her praise, gave her positive reinforcement, and she was a completely different kid. She was like, now she was throwing 3 back handsprings in a row. It was amazing. I was like, what? It's true.
And I tell them, just prove it to yourself. They prove it to themselves that they can do it, and not try to prove it to anybody else, and they'll get that joy, and feel comfortable moving forward, out of that block, because a block is just you not thinking you can do it, or being afraid to do it.
Right. It was that fear of like not doing it, it was that fear of not doing it, and then the coach coming back at her to reprimand her, or whatever.
Coach, like I can be hard on a student, I want to push kids, because our jobs as coaches are to push kids harder than what they think they can do, and as a coach, we have to measure what is that level that kid can take, so if I'm going in on a kid and I see them responding like in a negative way that, from my push, I just gotta adjust myself.
Every kid is different, every kid takes in positive constructive criticism differently. Every kid takes it in differently, and projects it different too. Some kids will shut down, some kids will talk back, right? And like, right, every kid is different. So I think that's very important as a coach to kind of like assess the kid and know how to, like you said, know how to, give that feedback. Would you say it's more that those blocks are more created because of a coach, a parent, or just a fear of the unknown?
That all of those. There's never
all of those.
There's never one reason, but the biggest influencers are a coach, a parent, or teammates, or maybe a circumstance.
Teammates, I think, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, teammates, and feeling like there's a need to compete. Which in all-star cheerleading, you're not just competing against other teams. You're competing against everybody on that floor with you to an extent, because not everybody can be point. Not everybody's going to fly. Um, Not everybody's even going to be in the stunts. You might be on the side. Oh, you go tumble, because
Yeah,
we have these spots filled. So you're competing. I tell kids, take somebody's spot. It's not personal. It's business.
that's
Do your
true.
best. And if you want to get to the front, do what you got to do.
Like we need to do a little better, not pushing our kids, because that can cause a lot of anxiety. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, and the thing with parents, some parents may have been an athlete in another sport, or maybe not even an athlete at all. So sometimes, and cheer is just different than most sports. It's not like football where you're just running, you're hitting somebody. Um, Baseball, yeah, you got to worry about a ball coming at you, but it's still different. In cheer and in tumbling. Well, tumbling, you're going upside down, flipping backwards. So that there's just a level of what would you call it? Just
Body control, kind of like.
not just confidence, that you have to have
Okay.
and believe in yourself and body control. Because if you can't control it, you're not going to do it.
Gonna fall.
You're gonna fall. Yeah. So there's all that that's weighing on your mind. That if you're just an
Yeah.
observer, you can see it, but you don't feel it. So when you say parents put that on their kids, the anxiety, a kid's like, you don't know. I hear kids, you come do it. They tell their parent, you come do it. And the parents are like, I'm paying for it. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know. And
Yeah.
even me, when I wouldn't flip backwards when I was first starting at all. I would do a fake back handspring and jump to the side. I would do front flips. I do front handsprings. It took a little lady who was like 4'11", 5 foot to stand there, put her hand on my back for me to feel halfway comfortable jumping up and backwards. And even when I would get up to doing higher level skills, I still have to like get my mind right, so that I can just go ahead and do what I got to do.
How do you help your athletes develop the confidence in their abilities?
Uh, I I'm I make them identify the positives that they do, because so many I could ask a kid after they throw a skill, all right, tell me about that. How do you feel? And they'll rattle off like 3 or 4 negative things right away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. True.
So, and I'm like, all right, tell me something good about it. And they get stuck, because they're thinking that it's not good enough or that it's not right. So I'll point out what they do good and I'll make them do it too. And sometimes I tell them, I don't want to hear anything negative about what you're doing. Only tell me what you like about what you do. Because if you are not cheering, or if you're not cheering yourself up, then it's going to be hard to build up. You can't just critique yourself negatively.
Yeah.
And same goes for coaches. We can't just look at the bad. I mean, our job is to pick apart and find the bad and fix it. But we have to also help train them to look at the good too.
Yeah. I
Because
think with every negative, not negative reinforcement, I wouldn't say negative, but with every negative, I don't want to say like, you know what I'm trying to say, with every piece they're not doing right, I believe there should be a positive reinforcement accompanied to that.
Yeah, find a balance, because nothing's
Right.
ever all good, nothing's ever all bad, but
Right.
you can balance those scales out, and help them get to where they have to be here and here. Because if
Yeah.
you lose a kid here and here,
They'll stop loving the sport.
they're gonna stop loving the sport. I've seen it happen where some kids just get beat up, mentally or physically. You hear things about certain gyms and their approaches to teaching, and you're like, oh, and then you see other programs where it's more, and you can be hard on the kid without breaking them down.
Right.
our job is not to break a kid down. It's to, you know, yeah, toughen them up, physically and mentally, but build them up, cheer it up.
Yeah, true. I agree. When it comes to injuries,
Yes.
is I know with injuries that's got to be tough as far as a coach goes trying to get them to tumble again. Um, how do you approach that? You got to approach. I'm sure you got to approach. Correct me if I'm wrong. You got to approach the injury, and you got to approach their mind, and try to help them balance that out and get them to overcome that. How do you get them to overcome that?
Oh man, getting over injuries is once again kind of going back to the beginning, or maybe not only the beginning, but slowing them down, making them realize or more conscious and observant of say for instance, if they break their wrist or their arm and they come back to tumbling, make them ask them, do you feel any pain? I start with handstands. Do you feel any pain? No. Do your cartwheel? Ooh, no. Do this drill and like block off this. Do you feel anything? And get them to realize, okay, I don't feel any pain. The pain is what causes that fear and big time. And then just take it slow. If you're doing a back handspring, I help them out and let them take their time until we just speed back up slowly. So just crawling again. You know?
It just takes time.
It's time and slow down. Don't rush. Don't feel like you gotta hurry up and get back unless you gauge it and you see them pushing and they're okay, and they can go as fast as the athlete wants to. Don't go as fast as you want to as a coach. I go at their pace. And I push, a little bit more than what they think they can, and until I see that I can't push them anymore, and I slow down, man.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, because my daughter had an injury and she did not want to tumble. My oldest, the one that you saw at Defy, she had an injury. She broke her humerus. Yeah, and man, she did not want to tumble. She was tumbling really good, and I mean nothing crazy. It was just back handsprings. It was the hardest thing to get her to do. And then she got it, broke her arm. It's funny because when she was doing her back handsprings. She was at a tryout. You try out every year, right? So she did her warm up back handspring, broke her arm at the warm up, just warming up. Then when she had to show it off to all the coaches, she had a broken arm doing her back handspring. Then after that, nobody knew because she didn't tell anybody. She just, she was, I guess, just that tough and then after her tryout, she did a back handspring. Then she went to base other athletes with a broken arm. I was like, then after she was done, she's like, yeah, I feel pain. It's hurting. We took it to the doctor show and I was broken. I was like, why didn't you tell anybody? It's like, I don't know. I just wanted to get it done.
Desire over fear, desire over pain. She wanted to keep on going. And pressure. Yeah. Kids under pressure, man, to perform, especially tryout time.
Oh, right.
She probably put in a lot of work to get that handspring, and then she didn't know it was totally broke too. So that helped.
Yeah, right. She did not know it was broken. We didn't know. She was just like, oh, it hurts. But she just kept going. I was like, it's crazy. So yeah, take step by step. That's
it is
breaking it down.
It's traumatic, breaking a bone and injuring yourself, or a bad fall. Kids get up in the air and they fall and they crash on their neck and you get flashbacks. You see that stuff. And those coaches have experienced it. Everybody falls. Everybody falls. I don't care who you are. If you haven't fallen, like they say, you haven't done it enough. And it may be a big fall, it may be a little fall. You're gonna feel it sometimes.
What is something that the sport cheerleading has taught you? Just maybe narrow to one thing that it has taught you that you apply to your life or teach your students.
With cheer, working together is key, but doing your job, building yourself up to be able to contribute to the team, team effort, is key, and just handle your business and and overcome obstacles, you know, as you go in life. But definitely that, just do your job so you can help out the team. It's not an individual sport, but you have to build up the individual, because it's made up of a team.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. All right, so can you tell me like what has been one of the attributions to your success and being where you are right now in your career? What has been that one attribution to where you are right now?
Um, I think one thing that's really helped me is to be able to communicate my communication with my students. You know, um, is the biggest key. I can paint a picture in their minds of what to do and get them to think about their bodies and the control, and also help them feel confident with that information to do what they have to do to overcome fears and doubts. That's it. Just being able to talk to them.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think that's huge.
with the psychological aspects of it, I'm able to get inside their heads and kind of bring down some of that anxiety that they may feel. When we first start a lesson, I tell them, I'm like, look, I don't care if you make a mistake. Well, I don't care. Just learn from mistake. And I tell them, I don't care if you're scared. I tell them, I just get this all out the way. I don't care if you're scared. And then I ask them right after that, do you want to do this? Is your mom making you do this? Is anybody making you come here? Do you want to get this skill? And they're usually saying yes. So I was like, okay, so your desire has to be greater than your fear to go get this skill, and it's okay to be scared. It's part of life. It's that emotion and that feeling that makes you check yourself in serious situations, scary situations, and going upside down and backwards flipping is that. So I don't care if you're scared. Be scared. Just don't let it stop you from thinking about what to do, and don't let it stop you from believing you can do it. And
Yeah.
then
I love that quote, man. I love that statement. Let your desire be greater than your fear.
yeah, yeah, I've used that for a long time, man. And tell them just want it a lot. And I tell them, they're kids. I'm like, and I don't care if you're tired. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're young, you're strong. Your body is going to tell you, oh, I can't do it or I feel tired. And your heart has to want it. And your brain's got to be like, I tell you what to do. You get up and let's go. Where
Yeah.
from being dead tired. Like you watch cheerleading and it'll be the end of practice. They've run like 5 full outs and they're beat. He's sweating, leaning over, hair looking like bleh. and that coach is like, set it up again.
Yeah.
You want to get out of here, set. And I bet you they hit that mug.
Yeah.
Hit that routine. And
They
then
do it again.
they do it again. And they do
Yeah.
it, and they do it tight. And you gotta dig. You teach them to dig and
Before I forget, I love that you ask them and get that all out of the way.
yeah.
Like, why are you here? Are you here because your mom's making you? Are you here because you want to do it? I actually love that. It's like, it's true. Sometimes kids just are there because their parents are pushing them to be there and they don't want to do it. So you won't get results. They won't get the results they want. You know what I mean? And you're struggling with trying to teach somebody that really doesn't want to be there, that's being forced to be there. I love that you get that out of the way before you start tumbling.
Or they're there to be with their friends. And cheer's a social sport. So that comes with the territory. You got to understand some kids just want to be on a team with their friends, because they can. And you got to ask, why are you here? And if they want it, then you can push them harder. If they're there, and keep it real, you're here because you just want to have fun, do it. Still gonna push you. but I know
Right.
how much it push you. You feel me? So
Yeah, I hear you. No, that's great. So if you were 10 years younger, right? And think about where you were at that time, right? Relationship wise, career, family, friendships. And you can think about where you were then, right? And what advice would you give your 10-year younger self?
uh um to not hold back, don't hold back and do more. Because there's no limit, but I just tell myself not hold back on how hard I push a kid, how much I demand out of an athlete, how much I demand out of myself, as far as building my business and putting myself out there more. Um, don't hold back.
That's
You know?
awesome. Don't hold back. Yeah, I can definitely relate with that, Devron. It's I think a lot of us we like, fear. Fear holds us back. The unknown holds us back. So I think that's awesome. That's good to know. Um,
Don't be scared of failure. If you fail, if you fall, that's okay. It's okay.
exactly. As long as you get back up, man, that's it. Okay, Devron. So let me ask you this. Like, I know, like, as you know, cheerleading is all about teamwork, right? But in
Yes.
your opinion, what is that one critical factor that you need in cheerleading to have a strong team?
Um, you have to have, but you have to have kids that want it. You definitely have to have kids that want it. The bigger your gym is, I think the easier it is to do that because there's pressure. When you have a program that has kids waiting to get in, get their turn, like I said before, competing with each other. I want to
Oh
get that
yeah,
spot, um, then you have a more self motivation going on to just be better. Like look at Top Gun. You got kids waiting to take somebody's spot.
yeah,
And they know that they have kids waiting to take somebody's spot. So I don't even think they have to push their kids as coaches as hard as the athletes just have to push themselves to get a spot and keep a spot, because it's not guaranteed, you
yeah.
know.
I feel you as far as the athlete that wants that spot is
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep working, and the
Yeah,
athlete that's has that spot to not lose the spot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have to work on both ends, to keep us excelling and building up your team. So I think just desire, kids wanting it. You
Wanting
have
it.
these athletes who do want it, and they're going to work hard for you. And being a coach that can get kids to work hard for you.
Yeah.
You're
Because
gonna,
you really can't have an athlete. I'm sorry, you really can't have a coach make you want something. It's
oh
got to be within you. It's got to be within yourself. You really got to want that spot. You really gonna want to cheer. You really want to get better. So yeah, I
yeah.
get that. That's true. You got
I
to
tell
want it.
I tell kids just that. I can't make you get it. Your mom can't make you get it. They can pay money to bring you here, but no one can make you do anything. If you want it, I'll help you do it. You got the support team. You got your parents paying for you. You got your coach putting time in for you. And if they don't want it, I tell them, don't waste your time. Don't waste your parents' money. I'm okay because they're paying me.
Right. Exactly.
But then I could be helping somebody else who wants it. You
Yeah.
know, so
Makes sense. That's true.
um, so yeah, you gotta have a kid who wants it.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so my my biggest motivation for this podcast, my biggest purpose for this podcast is like to inspire other kids. It's not about like I don't know if you've watched it before, but it's not about like the technique or cheerleading in general. It's about more like mental toughness, motivation, and I want to motivate kids, inspire kids to be great, right? In this podcast. If they can get something out of this podcast, if the parents can learn something about this podcast that they can apply to their kids, kind of like we were talking about, the parents not pushing them too much, that they can get anxiety and anxious and, not love the sport. That's my whole purpose for the podcast. So if there's nothing else in this world about cheerleading or anything, and you have this one athlete that you can share 3 valuable life lessons so they can be successful, what would they be?
Well, the main one is I love this question too, because I tell this to kids all the time. What all the like all this hard work they put in, all the sweat, tears, pain, broken bones and blood, whatever it may be, what they're going through, this experience. Don't let it be for nothing. What they go through, let it make them stronger for something they got to go through in the future. If they overcome some fear, it get in their back handspring or coming back from an injury, or just accomplishing a goal. And I got my back handspring. What you did to get that back handspring, let it help you know how to deal with the fear and your emotions and any doubts when you got to do a tuck, and then when you got to do a layout, because it's going to be a different skill, but it's the same emotions and the same dig you gotta go into yourself for. And then beyond that, when you got to do some other stuff in life, that's not easy because you worked hard as a cheerleader or as any athlete. Let that hard work help you, handle your business when you got to get out and get your own job. You got to pay some bills. Or if you have to help somebody else, what you went through, you never know when you're going to be a teacher, So if you've gone through some stuff and you struggled and you see somebody, maybe you can help them out, on your team or in school, in life, or down the road. Just don't forget the lessons you learn. Don't forget the lessons you learn and the obstacles you've overcome and the fears you've overcome and the doubt. Keep it so they can only make you stronger, and
nice.
And be a more confident person for yourself. Build yourself up, because it's bigger. And I tell the kids too, it's bigger than cheers, bigger than tumbling. I tell them, I don't care if you get this handspring. I just care that you show yourself, that you can work hard and deal with stressful situations or, some tough stuff in life, because it ain't easy. This isn't the hardest thing you got to deal with in life. I wish it was, but it's not, so just think about what you're doing, and go for it. So.
Yeah, man. Listen, thanks so much for jumping on here, being on the podcast, man. It was like, what was it? Like maybe 2 weeks? You were super busy, and finally we made it happen.
Yeah, I had so much going on, people in town and moving, traveling around. But thank you for inviting me, man. I really enjoyed this. It was a great experience, man, and just talking to you, and being able to let people know, the tumble freak philosophy.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on, man. Share your ideas, your thoughts, and how you approach certain things, especially with other athletes. So thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure. Thank you, Renatto.
If you're watching this, please subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give me a follow. I appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. Later.
All right. Peace.